Welcome back to English 4.0, the radio show. Let's go! Advanced.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. And welcome to class number 190. Let's see what we've got today. Cracking open the books here. I'm looking here in my student guide, and let's see what we've got. Well, as always, we start with a review, so we can look back to yesterday's content first, starting with a little review. To be better off. To be better off. You'd be better off learning English, or you'd be better off if you knew English. So to be in a better position. Now, we also have the expression to be well off. I think we saw that recently, didn't we? To be well off, to be adinerado, to have some money, to be wealthy, to be well off. But to be better off just means to be in a better position in general. You'd be better off if you got more exercise. You'd be better off if you had a good job. You'd be better off if you worked hard. You'd be better off if you spoke English. You'd be better off if you learned English. So to be better off is the structure that we're looking at here. So it says here in your student guide, mejor económicamente hablando, in terms of money, but also just simply in a better situation. You would be better off. You would be better off. He would be better off. And then we use it followed by the gerund. When we have a verb form, you'd be better off working hard. You'd be better off paying for it early. You'd be better off getting a mortgage, for example. To be better off. All right. Sometimes I'd be better, we could say, imagine you say, if I were you, yo que tú, if I were you, empezaría de nuevo. If I were you, I would start again. If I were you, I'd start again. Second conditional. Here, with the structure to be better off, you'd be better off starting again. You're giving the same type of advice. If I were you, I'd study every day. You'd be better off studying, gerund, studying every day. If I were you, I'd buy a new car. If I were you, I'd buy a new car. You'd be better off buying a new car. If I were you, I'd find some new friends, 'cause your friends are nothing but trouble. If I were you, I'd find some new friends. You'd be better off finding some new friends. All right. Now, the second thing we saw in yesterday's class was most of the time. La mayor parte del tiempo. Most of the time. And the problem here, the thing that I hear all the time that gives me a bit of a headache, it bothers me, is when I hear people say the most of the time, the most. But no, there's no article, not the most of the time, okay? Simply most of the time. So, yes, most of the time, while I'm teaching, most of the time I speak English. I speak Spanish sometime, but most of the time I speak English. I do. Yeah, I spend most of my time, we can use it possessive as well, I spend most of my time speaking English. I spend some of my time speaking Spanish, but I spend most of my time speaking English. Most of the time. Most of the time, or making it possessive, most of my time. Okay, using the possessive adjective there. My parents spend most of their time at home. They spend most of their time in my hometown. They spend most of their time in the town that I grew up in. My brother spends most of his time working. I spend most of my time working as well. I spend most of my time teaching. I spend a lot of time preparing classes for the radio or classes for my students. But I do spend a lot of time, preparing, but I spend most of my time teaching. Okay? Most of my time, most of your time. How do you spend most of your time? Right? Okay. So now as we move on, we have, of course, yes, our expression of the day.
Expression of the day.
All right, it's time for our expression of the day. And our expression of the day is take a hike. Hike. H-I-K-E. Hike. Now, a hike, to go hiking is to go to, you say in Spanish, hacer footing. Right? To go into the forest or go up into the mountains walking. Oh, I'm going hiking. I'm going for a hike, right? But we can use the verb to take. On Saturday, I'm going to take a hike to the mountains. I'm going to go hiking to the mountains. I'm going to take a hike. We could also say, I'm going to go take a run. Using the verb to take, it's a little bit strange in this form. But as an expression, take a hike means get out of here. Go away. Take a hike, because if you go hiking, you're walking somewhere, you're traveling away. So if someone's bothering me, I can say, listen, you're bothering me. Take a hike. Get out of here. Get lost. We can say, get lost as well. Get out of here. So this is not a very nice thing to say. I don't recommend you say this to your boss, for example. But it is a fairly common structure, and it's a good one to know. Both take a hike and get lost. Get out of here. Get lost, would you? Take a hike. Would you? That's an interesting little tag that we use. That's kind of an older American. You'll see that in a lot of old movies, like Western movies. Get out of here. Will you? Will you or would you? Essentially saying, would you please? Instead of saying, would you leave, please? Or simply, would you leave? They say, get out of here. Go away. Would you? Or will you? Be serious now. Will you? And it's not so common in modern day English. I would say that this structure is a bit more common in American English from many years ago, and you'll see this, particularly in the South. You'll see this in older movies. You'll hear John Wayne say this in his movies, for example. Take a hike, will you? Or would you as well? All right, now let's take a look at class number 190 in our new material. We have to show off. To show off. And to show off is essentially, you say, in Spanish, presumir. Presumir de algo. Lucirse. To show off. Oh, he's always showing off. And we also have to brag, which is presumir or jactarse. Presumir, to brag. But when you brag, it's more verbal. So you're explaining, you're telling people what you did. Hey, everybody, I hold 2 world records. I'm the best. I'm the fastest runner, and I'm the strongest one here. I'm bragging. To brag, B-R-A-G. To brag. But now to show off is very similar. In fact, presumir de algo, it says here in your student guide. But to show off is less vocal and more demonstrative, let's say. To show off, you're proving to people, you're indicating, you're showing them what you can do. Look at this, and then you start doing things because you want attention. People who show off, and we can call those people show-offs. Don't be a show-off. He's such a show-off. That's what show-offs do. They show off. He's always showing off. He is a show-off. So as a noun, a show-off is someone who shows off. So they try to draw attention to themselves. They try to do things that attract people's attention, things that get people to look at them, and things that get people to take interest in them and their behavior. Those people are show-offs. Now, do you show off in front of your friends? Look at this. I can drink a bottle of beer in 15 seconds. Watch me, everybody. I'm a show-off. Yeah, I would be a show-off. Now, what about when you were young? We all know people when we were young. I think it's more common for kids, boys at least. They like to show off. It seems like it's part of the process of going through, growing up. When we start to take interest in girls, guys start to show off a little bit and prove what they can do. They want to prove that they're somehow dominant in some way, so they show off a little bit to show off. Now, we can also show something off, like your car. Oh, look at him, he's got a Rolls Royce. And he's always showing off his car. He drives around town with the music playing, showing off his car, showing off his new watch. Hey, everybody, look at my watch. And he's showing off his watch, drawing attention to his watch. He's showing it off. So people can show off, or people can also show things off. Okay? So we have the noun, a show off, and also the verb to show off. All right? Let's move on. Take a look at our vocabulary of the day.
Vocabulary of the day.
All right, it's time for the vocabulary of the day, our 5 words of vocabulary. Our first word today is patas de mesa. Patas de una mesa. Now, it makes sense, patas, but in English we would say legs, table legs. It's an interesting piece of vocabulary here. Table legs. Did you know that one? Table legs. You know, it's one thing that bothers me sometimes when you sit down at a table and it's uneven. And it's, you say in Spanish, está cojo, right? We say in English that it wobbles. To wobble, W-O-B-B-L-E, wobble. Now, to wobble is the movement back and forth. If the table is wobbling, then we need to stabilize it somehow because the table legs are not the same length. Or maybe the floor is uneven. But either way, it's wobbling. And the next word we have is mecha de una vela. And this is a wick, W-I-C-K, wick. Now, when you light a candle, una vela, a candle, you light the wick. But the wick doesn't, well, it does burn, but it actually burns surprisingly slowly because what you're really burning is the wax, which is absorbed up into the wick, W-I-C-K. And as a result of this concept of absorbing, we often use wick as a verb. And in fact, a phrasal verb. We say to wick up the water. The mop can wick up the water, essentially meaning the mop can absorb the water. It can wick it up. Marcar un número de teléfono, pero marcar de nuevo. This is to redial. So marcar, the first time, is to dial. And then we have redial. In fact, you have buttons on your phone sometimes. Some phones have a button called redial. And you press the button and it just dials the same number again. It redials. So anytime we use well, you do the same in Spanish, right? Meaning do it again. Redial. Redo it. Redial. Rodapié. This is This is called skirting board. Skirting board. Probably not a word you'll use every day, but there it is. Skirting board. Another word, erizo. Erizo. What do you call this animal? This is a hedgehog. Hedgehog, erizo. Hedgehog. All right, so this is nice. It's nice to pick up a few pieces of vocabulary here that you might not use these every day, but it builds a nice, strong vocabulary as you go little by little adding certain words like this. So erizo, we had hedgehog. All right, now, the last thing we're going to look at, we just have about a minute, so we will wind things down by taking a look at another way of expressing what we call the zero conditional. So cases where if something happens, something else will happen, regardless of the tense. For example, if he calls, tell him I'm not here. If he calls, past, present, or future. If he calls, tell him I'm not here. We have the structure should, subject, infinitive. Okay. Should he call, tell him I'm not here. Okay, if the customer complains, give them what they want. Should the customer complain, give them what they want. So should instead of if. Should the customer complain? So infinitive, when we're using should in this zero conditional form, we use the infinitive should, subject, infinitive. If the children are hungry, make them some dinner. Should the children be hungry, make them some dinner. Should the children be hungry, make them some dinner. If it's hot, drink lots of water. If it's hot, drink lots of water. Should it be hot, drink lots of water. Should it be hot, drink lots of water. All right, so there you go. We've seen this structure. We'll come back to this tomorrow because we're out of time, but we'll come back to this structure and practice it a bit more tomorrow in class 191. Only 5 more classes to go. So stay focused. Remember to study along with your student guide, and I'll be back tomorrow at the same time. We'll see you then, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good day. Bye-bye.